Demo discs are some of my favorite parts of console video game history. It doesn't feel like that long ago to me, but it really was. Back in 1995 is when I remember the first official demo disc, and it came for the PlayStation. It's this guy right here, PlayStation Pix, which I've talked about on camera before. Back in 1995, the PlayStation was still relatively new. As a matter of fact, it was brand new still, starting in September. So getting a disc like this enabled us to watch video of certain games. You could watch trailers, gameplay. You could watch attract modes for games like Tekken or Air Combat. And yeah, you could even get slices of games such as Jumping Flash that was on this disc. If it wasn't for this disc, I never would have bought Jumping Flash, honestly. Getting the chance to play it first and seeing what the game was about rather than just reading it in a video game magazine made all the difference in the world, at least it did to me. Enough where I bought Jumping Flash as soon as I possibly could. So this really set the stage for the demo discs to come. Now, when we talk about demo discs, sometimes we talk about demo discs that sell actual $50 or $60 games. There are a couple of examples that I like to bring up. The first one, I don't know if any of you remember a game called Ball Number 1 from 1997. It was a fighting game that Square published. And it wasn't the fighting game that we really cared about back then. See, there was a demo disc in there that was worth the $50, at least to some of us, that we spent. It's for Final Fantasy VII, this guy right here. This is the demo that came along with Ball Number 1. So yeah, it was kind of cool that there was a fighting game, but that kind of waited because we wanted to play Final Fantasy VII for ourselves. We had enough of reading the magazine previews after previews after previews. Being able to actually play the game for ourselves was a pretty new thing, and it was pretty darn awesome. I mean, granted, a lot of us were going to buy Final Fantasy VII anyway, but being able to play the game for ourselves certainly made a lot of a difference back in 1997. There's one other example that I like to talk about, and I'm only going to touch on this briefly because the PlayStation 2 episode or part of this repeat show is going to be coming soon. But when we talk about Zone of the Enders, you probably remember that game. It's a game about mechs that Hideo Kojima had something to do with. Nobody really cared, or I can't say nobody, but very few people really cared about Zone of the Enders. What they cared about was the demo disc that came with it, and that was first Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. This was the game that people wanted after the smash hit that was Metal Gear Solid back in 1998. People wanted a sequel. They were desperate for a sequel. We had heard about it for a long time, and now that we had our PlayStation 2, we were able to actually play a demo of it. Yeah, that was a pretty darn big deal. It helps that Zone of the Enders was a pretty decent game, although its sequel far exceeded it. But a lot of us, myself included, I didn't know what a Zone of the Enders was, but I did know that Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty was playable, and I needed to have that game. So those are two examples of demos that sold $50 or $60 games. So demo discs being very prominent both in 1997 and again in 2001. Getting back to Square for a minute, Square sometimes would package collector's CDs that had demos in some of their games. This right here that I'm about to show you is a demo disc from 1998 that I believe came as part of Parasite Eve, which in my opinion was a pretty good game. Not great, but pretty good. This is collector's CD number 1, and the most significant thing about this is that it has Xenogears playable. Xenogears was a game that we were kind of on again, off again about. Were we going to get it here in the U.S.? Weren't we going to get it here in the U.S.? Video game magazines kept waffling back and forth based on what they heard, and it was finally decided that we were going to get it here in the U.S. It was a pretty big deal. So actually being able to play a part of it and be able to play Parasite Eve, yeah, that was pretty gosh darn cool. At least it was to me. I do remember playing this demo myself and enjoying it quite a bit, even though Xenogears really isn't my favorite Squaresoft game, but that's a story for another time. When we're talking about demos, of course, we can talk about the official PlayStation magazine. This was the way that a lot of people got their demo discs, usually in the mail, sometimes buying it from newsstands or bookstores like Walden Books, like I did. Now, this is kind of a preview for an Unsealed episode that I'll be doing in August because it'll mark the 20-year anniversary of this particular issue. This is a still sealed official U.S. PlayStation magazine that's dated for September 98, which means that it hit newsstands in August. This is about Parasite Eve, although Parasite Eve, oh, that's kind of funny that I showed the demo disc just a second ago. This does have Spyro the Dragon, Duke Nukem Time to Kill, Warzone, WWF Warzone, Scars, and the Unholy War playable. But I just wanted to show that this was sealed. You could actually, and it's going to be tough to see with the camera, but you can see the demo disc kind of teasing in the back of the wrapper there. We'll be opening this up in August, but I wanted to show an unopened copy of the U.S. PlayStation magazine because this is how a lot of us got our demo discs during 1997, mostly 1998, 99, and 2000, really. That's when the official PlayStation magazine really took off. I have a couple of other discs here just to show you. This is from issue 19. Unfortunately, from April 1999. This has Ridge Racer Type 4, which is one of my favorite games. Also has Roll Cage, and Rugrats is on here. An underrated game, to say the least, even though it's licensed. Another demo disc that I have that is still sealed is from May 2000. So this is issue number 32, and it has Medieval 2, Speed Punks, NASCAR Rumble, and Rugrats Studio Tour playable. That's this one right here, still in the cellophane. I have yet to open this up. I know I really need to get around to doing that. So we talk about demo discs. We talk about demo discs being included with games. We talk about demo discs being included with magazines. You could also get a CD magazine, and we talked about this in the pilot episode of RePete. We talked about the PlayStation Underground CD magazine, and I won't show this off again because you saw it in the last video. But this was a way that some of us got our demos, was in the mail. We paid a certain fee to subscribe, and we would, rather than get a magazine like OPM in the mail, we would get this. And this was a pretty cool thing while it lasted. Sometimes with demos, you would get them for pre-ordering games or when you went into a game store. And we're doing a little bit of an unsealed crossover here because I have a sealed Lunar Silver Star Story demo CD that we are going to open here on camera. This is a disc that I got at an event, a trade event recently, and because it was sealed, I wanted to be able to open it on camera. So let's go ahead and we'll do that. I'll try and do it so you can see, you can hear the seal being broken. There we go. So we'll slide that off. And we'll see if the disc looks like anything. Usually, there is some disc art here. It's not really colorful, but that's okay. This is what it looks like right here. So you do see some character art on here. And this is pretty cool, being able to play a demo before you got the game. I do remember getting this brand new day one. I actually got some display stuff from Working Designs. I had actually submitted that I was working for FuncoLand, and they sent me some things for the store, which I thought was really nice. Unfortunately, those didn't survive the many, many moves that I've had since then. But this is a really cool disc, and it's really a great way to experience the game before it came out. There were other ways you could get demo discs too, and I've shown these before. These are jam packs. This is the very first one. I believe this is 1997 as well, one of my favorite years, if not my favorite all-time year in console gaming. This says Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, The Lost World Jurassic Park, Herc's Adventures, which is stupid expensive. I've talked about that before. Rage Racer is on here. MDK is on here. So this is a really decent collection of games to start. But this was the first one. There were quite a few others after that. Here is Volume 2. And this is also from 1997. So this came out later in that year. This is what it looks like. It looks like a lemon here. 12 more demos here. Bravo Air Race, Colony Wars. Oh, man, that was such a cool game in 97. Cool Borders 2, Fighting Force, Intelligent Cube, NFL Game Day 98. That was the first game that put polygons in and had 3D players, I believe. Nightmare Creatures, Nuclear Strike, Parappa the Rapper, another great game from 97. Test Drive 4, Tomb Raider 2, and Versus. This is what the back of the case looks like. And there were other games. There were other discs as well that I can show. And I'll just run through them really quick here. This is from summer of 99. That's this one right here. And now we're calling it the PlayStation Underground Jam Pack. So now, rather than subscribing to the CD magazine, you could just get the games instead of getting the extra content. And on this disc, we had Ape Escape, Bloody Roar 2, Next Tetris, MLB 2000, 3 Extreme, Elmo's Letter Adventure, Xena Warrior Princess, R4 is on here. And oh yeah, by the way, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is on here, one of my favorite games of all time. This is the Winter 98 Jam Pack. This is what it looks like right here. And we have Spyro the Dragon, Medieval, Metal Gear Solid, A Bug's Life, Cool Borders 3, NHL Face-Off 99, Game Day 99, Rallycross 2, Tomb Raider 3, and Small Soldiers. Plus, there's a debriefing on Spyro the Dragon and a sneak peek at Crash Bandicoot Warped in here. So this, again, kind of like the CD magazine, but condensed into one disc. And this was officially from the PlayStation Underground. This continued as we go to the summer of 99. Oh, I have 2 of those. That's why. My bad. Winter of 99, we have Gran Turismo 2, Jammer Lammy, Spyro 2, Tiny Tank, Thrasher Skate and Destroy, and other games. So that's this one right here. This is one of my favorite jam packs right here because it has Legend of Dragoon on it. And there were 10 demos on here as well. Siphon Filter 2, Hot Shots 2, Grind Session was on here. A game that kind of got overlooked, which is too bad. And the last jam pack I have, or I have 2 more, I'm sorry. We have Jam Pack Winter 2000 with Spyro Year of the Dragon on it, among others. And for the fall of 2001, we had games that weren't nearly as exciting. X-Men Mutant Academy 2, NFL Game Day 2002, Barbie Explorer, Disney Aladdin, Twisted Metal, Small Brawl, Dragon Warrior 7's on here, so that's kind of neat. So those are jam packs. Those were another way that you could get your demo fix if you really wanted to. And these discs were only $5. So rather than paying $40 or $50 for a new game, you just paid $5 and you got to try many games all at once, even though they weren't full games. And to wrap this up before we close here, just a few other random demo discs to show you. Metal Gear Solid VR Missions, which is this right here. This is a game that's kind of divisive. This is the disc right here, by the way. This is a game that's kind of divisive, and I have to admit that I actually like this because there are more VR missions to play, and it's really a skill builder. I loved playing this and then going back to the original Metal Gear Solid and seeing if my skills had improved or not. There were some extra things like mystery modes and other features that were added. And I know that I believe in Europe, this came with Metal Gear Solid. I think they call it Metal Gear Solid Integral, if I'm right. So having to buy it separately was kind of a pain in the rear end. But still, I like this a lot, and I think that it got a little bit too much guff, I think, from some players and some critics back when the game came out. And last but not least, because this is running long, just some other demo discs to show. This one right here is from 97. I got this from a used video game store that just kind of had it sitting there. It's this right here. I love this design with the controllers kind of surrounding the spindle. That's pretty cool. This one here is also pretty early. This is Interactive CD Sampler Pack Volume 3. This looks a lot like something that Sweet Tooth would have designed from Twisted Metal. If you see the color design, you'll understand why. And then one more just to show. This is CD Interactive Sampler Disc Volume 9. So this is pretty late in the PlayStation's lifespan. And that's this guy right here. And sometimes you could get these. Sometimes you were sent them in the mail. Other times you could get them when you get to game stores. And again, having all of these demo discs around let you try a bunch of different games at once. And I thought that that was really the coolest thing. So that's a look back at demo discs for the original PlayStation. That's really when demo discs got started. And from there, once we got on to the Dreamcast, to the Xbox, the PlayStation 2, and even the GameCube to some extent, we started to see demo discs really take off. In the next installment of Repeat, we're going to look at some of those PlayStation 2 demos, including a couple of unopened PlayStation 2 demos that we will open live on camera. And I hope that you'll join me for that episode of Repeat, and that will be coming soon. As always, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you've got any memories of original PlayStation demo discs, I'd sure like to hear about them. Go ahead and drop me a line in the comments below. And if you like what you see, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Until the next time, my friends, see you later.